to the Slow Ride Reviews, the Slow Ride Podcast's review show about reviews. This is Spencer in Boston.
This is Matt in Minneapolis.
This is Tim in Orlando, and it's the first time all three of us have been on the Slow Ride Reviews. This is the third episode. Since all three of us are here, Spencer, we have a lot of podcast green room talk that we talk a lot about the different shows and different ideas that we have. What is your on the tape reaction to the first time you heard Little Guy's created intro music and outro music of the Slow Ride Review show?
I laughed out loud because I was like, well, I couldn't have imagined it more Little Guy. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, of course. So,
thank you.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think that, he nailed it. When people hear that, they know the review show is coming, and it's just
that's what it says.
It's low frills. It's not, it gets right to the point. It's good stuff, and I'm excited for this show tight as we continue to go this route. So the idea is that we get items, we get things sent to us. We read a lot of books. There's other things that we want to talk about that are a little bit different than the Slow Ride podcast jargon and banter that makes no sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things that, I like to think that we're not bike experts, but we're cyclists that have been around in the game for a little while now, and we get to try out some different things. And I think that this is a good avenue for us to share some of our experiences.
I absolutely think we're experts. I think I'm going to disagree with you there. This is the reason people are tuning in, because we know what we're talking about. We've been there, we've done that, we've used all the bad chamois creams, and we can tell you which one's the worst. Save you some money.
We can. When we do these reviews, we're always going to let you know kind of like how we come across the products and kind of our thoughts. And the best part is we get to ask each other questions about some of these items that we got. So I'm going to roll right into a new one for us. And let me just say that about 3 weeks ago, I got a box on my front porch.
Yeah.
It was addressed to me. It was an Amazon box.
What'd you buy?
And it said, it's Tim. I didn't buy this. I checked my credit card statement. I talked to my wife. I talked to all of my parents. Purchase? I've asked you guys kind of sideways to see if you guys bought me this. Because I didn't want to bring it up to be like, ooh, maybe you guys told me you were going to do this. And then I only half listened half the time. And so I was like, oh, maybe one of these jokers sent this over to me. And I opened up this box.
Little guy, this does give us a great opportunity to just start sending Tim random things from Amazon and just pretending like we have no idea.
So I got this
for sure.
I opened up the box, classic Amazon no frill packaging. And I'm holding it up for you guys to see for the first time. It's called Liquid IV.
Okay.
Which is a creepy name.
Fueling life's adventures. And it's called it's a hydration multiplier electrolyte drink mix utilizing cellular transport technology. When I first read cellular transport technology, I right away was thinking of Star Trek. And I was like, beam me up, Scotty. Because I'm pretty sure that's how they get across the galaxy. And it goes on to say that one liquid IV can provide the same hydration as drinking 2 to 3 bottles of water.
Wait.
Now, little guy, you'd be happy to know that it is vegan, soy-free, dairy-free, and gluten-free. And so I got the lemon lime flavor here.
Okay, so it tells you all that. Now, It's called Liquid IV, which to me sounds like you're going to test positive. Did you run all the ingredients through the USADA app before you started ingesting this product?
I did not. I don't think I need to, because I went to the website.
Okay.
So I don't know how I got this. So maybe they sent it to me.
That's why I would run it past the USADA website if I were you. But go on.
It very well could have been someone that was that has seen me on a ride. And you guys know me. I bring a lot of water bottles on a ride. And it's also Florida with the Florida heat. It gets very, very hot down here. And so it comes in tubes, right? And you open up the tube and you pour it into a water bottle, and that should be the equivalent of 3.
So here's the question
bottles,
I have.
basically.
Do you fill up the water bottle a third of the way or halfway because the hydration multiplies? or like
that's how you would use it, Spencer, because you're a camel, and you only drink one water bottle on like a 900-mile ride. So yeah,
but I'm worried about a full bottle exploding because there's too much water inside now. If you multiplied it,
there's too much hydration.
No,
yeah, that's
Spencer,
true.
You fill up the water bottle, you just put it in. It's a mix.
So it's not like a dinosaur, one of those dinosaurs you put water in, and a couple days later you got a bigger dinosaur. No. Okay, got it.
So again, got this free. I don't know who sent it to me. I think it's one of you two that just thought it would be funny because Florida has a lot of dopers getting busted for positive, and they're like a liquid IV. Okay, let me give you the review. I've now used 4 sticks.
Does it have a flavor?
Yes, lemon lime. They have a couple of different flavors. They have like a key berry or acai, sorry, or however you call it. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
They have passion fruit. I put it in the water bottle.
You did it.
I didn't know
took the plunge.
I took the plunge. Well, yeah, but I was, I should have probably checked the water because I'm a little concerned that this just shows up on my porch and I'm already ingesting it into my body. But first review, the packaging's
That's what
okay.
Rasmussen said too. It just showed up on my porch and I ingested it and I can't believe it was calf's blood.
So they on the packaging they tell you a little bit of the story.
Yeah, I need to know. I need to know the story.
So Liquid IV was founded in 2012 by 2 best friends from the beaches of Santa Monica. Okay. As collegiate athletes, Brandon and Hayden we're sick of consuming sports drinks filled with artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. So they partnered with a group of world-renowned nutrition scientists to create a line of healthy, effective, and great-tasting products based on a breakthrough nutrient delivery system. And then you go to their website. Apparently, cellular transport technology was developed by like the World Health Organization to help hydrate areas that had low water consumption and clean water. Okay. So like that's the idea. And so then they have like, the mission defeating dehydration globally. And so every time you hydrate with Liquid IV, it helps others do the same. Your purchase directly impacts the lives of those who need it most. So there is like a mission behind
some sort of charity aspect.
Kind of like Tom's. Yeah.
Okay. So wait, they fill a water bottle in a sub-Saharan African country or something.
Yes.
Don't quote me on that.
And what they say is the key to hydration is uptake, not intake. So conventional hydration products are not optimized for absorption. Our body's absorption of water is absolutely dependent on the transport of electrolytes, particularly sodium and glucose. So I read that and I saw sodium. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that means salt. So I take a big swig of this in the water bottle. Lemon lime, it tastes good.
Okay.
But there's definitely a lot of sodium in this packet.
Yeah.
So the taste it's not like I'm drinking a Gatorade or an All Sport or a Powerade, something that tastes like it's very sugary. Sure. This is like I'm drinking salt water.
Okay.
But in the hot weather, it was 85 degrees the other day when I was riding, and I felt that I was actually fairly hydrated. I drank 1 bottle of this and then had 2 water bottles with me, so I drank the equivalent of 6 bottles, and it was okay. I'd probably honestly, I'd probably buy it again.
Interesting.
But what I don't like, I can tell you the 2 things I don't like. One is you get a bag, and then inside the bag is 16 individually wrapped sticks, and so you're like, there's a lot of wasted packaging.
Okay.
And then to open up the individual stick, it's like tear here, and then you tear it, and it doesn't allow you to pour it in. Like you still have to I just take scissors now to cut it open. But I think in the hot summer months, this would actually work here in Florida. So I would give this I would give the Liquid IV, the branding and like the naming, horrible. I don't like the name Liquid IV. I think it's really weird. The taste, it's not bad.
Creepy.
And the jury's out, but I would probably buy it again. I would buy it for the first time because I do think that it's a pretty good hydration, and the cost seemed fairly, average for like in that space.
Did you have a go-to hydro? Do you usually use these weird powders? I'm just a straight water guy. So
well, I'm a straight water, but then I started having some problems in cramping, and then mostly just it gets so hot. So I started using hammer heat. But that stuff leaves a stomach ache for me. And this is something that like I think
sugary.
I think that this happens to a lot of folks. So this is $25, so it ends up being about $1.50 per bottle that you use. So 16.6, $25.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, and then if you go online, you can get like 20% off. So Liquid IV, check it out. It's liquid-iv.com. I got it for free. They may have sent it. I don't know who sent it, but
this is great.
I would buy it again.
That's amazing.
I would say this. I would say this is that it tastes like a drink mix, right? Like when you have these mixes, they don't always taste great. So like, don't expect the Kool-Aid man to come bursting through the wall being like, hey, I got Liquid IV for you. And then you think it's really good tasting because this is very salty, but I think it's going to do the trick because it's done it on the rides that I've used it so far. So check it out, Liquid IV. Thanks for whoever sent this to me. I don't know who it was. Yeah. And like, what's crazy, like I thought maybe it would be for a neighbor, but my name was still on it.
Yeah.
So
they knew it was you.
Yeah.
Someone sent this. I think it might be my parents and they forgot. Like, honestly, like
that could be.
I could see Bill just being like, oh, that looks good. I saw a commercial for it on CNBC or something and then send it out to me.
Possible. Well,
you'll have to see what he's drinking when he goes out for rides next time you're digging through his
We'll
cupboards.
dig deeper into this one for you, Timmy. But past this, I know you guys had an opportunity to follow up at post Chequamegon with Gary Crandell and get some words, get some airtime with him about the event and his experience with it. What do you got for me?
So it was awesome to be able to track him down because when we were up there, you remember how busy he was and how
way too busy.
Like rightfully so. I mean, he 36 years, I believe, little guy. That he or 35. And he would call us out.
We got it right in the interview. Yeah. He calls us out in the interview because we messed it up in the interview too.
So, but the stories that he has of like his favorite riders that he worked with, which was really cool. And then, I mean, it's just, you're talking to someone that helped create an entire mountain bike community and a destination race in northern Wisconsin. And it may seem like very regional, but he has experience talking to a lot of promoters across the country. He talks about the lesser known Midwestern race called Iceman Cometh. Like
just some little thing that some people do.
He tells us who his favorite racer was that he ever had on the top step of the podium. He talks about, the Lalonde brothers and the single speed win and just everything that you can imagine. It was a lot of fun to discuss. The best part about Gary is that he clearly loves the sport. And he also has just the right amount of like snark that I really like. Like as a promoter, right? Like there's just the right amount of like, he's heard it all before. He really doesn't care what you think, but he kind of does because he knows it's how he's going to make the money, right? To get you back. So he wants you to have a good event. So he wants the feedback. But if you're going to call and complain to him about your start position, there's probably better ways to do it than to call him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He might help you, but he's going to roll his eyes while he does it. I mean,
that's
you gotta. I think you gotta have some snark if you're gonna last for 30 some years dealing with. Let's admit it. We can be a whiny.
We're the worst
group of people.
I mean, this guy. Like he deserves so many high fives. He produced a mountain bike race newspaper for all these years that you get before. Like Fat Tracks, all the news that's fat to print. Like, I mean, it is a labor. I
just got my most recent issue of Fat Tracks with the results from this year's Chequamegon in it. Nice. I had to scan through a lot of pages before I found me and little guys' names.
I have not gotten my issue yet.
I haven't gotten it yet. Wow. Dang.
How long have you guys had it?
Maybe. I haven't had mine yet.
Okay.
A couple days.
Maybe tomorrow.
Couple days.
All right.
All
right. Very exciting. So anyways.
Okay, cool. Hope people like the interview. go buy your Liquid IV, and but double check that WADA list, people.
And if you have anything else, you can always email us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll talk to you quickly on the flip side. All right, so we are here with an interview that's been a long time coming, and we're with the fat man himself of the Chequamegon Fat Tire Festival, Gary Crandell. And Gary, welcome to the Slow Ride Pod.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, it's kind of a slow ride in my office now that I'm, a few weeks away from the event. It's a different pace than it was at that event weekend.
I just have to assume, because you've been running this event for 36 years, that you really looked forward to the emails the morning after asking if the muddy conditions at this year's event are going to affect their staging position for year number 37. I'm assuming you got some emails like that.
I absolutely did, which was pretty funny. Here we're a year away from the next event, and people are already concerned where they're going to be lining up next year. And although speaking of emails, I got very few emails after the event, and that's always a sign of a successful event. Other than, I lost my pair of socks or a pair of shoes in the lost and found, or maybe the very rare timing problem, but very few emails after the event, and that always means that things went well.
Well, that's good. So are you going to miss those? Because really burying the lead here is that this was your last year as the main man itself. For 36 of the 37 Chequamegons, you've been the head honcho, and now no more. So are you still going to be getting these emails, and are you going to miss them?
Well, actually, it's 35 of the 36 Chequamegons, so don't get ahead of yourself there.
Well, we're known for facts.
Yep.
And, I think if there was something that I would miss, one of my other titles, along with the Fat Man, has always been Mr. Correspondence. I have always done all my own correspondence, whether it was with sponsors, volunteers, staff, community organizations, or, most notably the participants. People are always surprised when I answer their emails almost in real time, because, I'm in the inbox constantly. And you know what? I think I'm going to miss that, because that's a lot of input from, literally tens of thousands of people over the years that have all, most of whom have become friends of mine, and I actually remember quite a few names now. But I think I will miss that.
Okay, well, that's understandable. But so the correspondence, sure. Will you be at the Chequamegon Fat Tire Festival next year?
I will. I'm gonna play some role. I'm not sure what that role is, and it was interesting as I went through the event weekend. I actually was approached by a number of people about what I was going to do next year. And it was all across the board, asking me to participate with them in a variety of really diverse ways. And I thought, it's an open slate. I can decide to do what I want to do. I think I'll be somewhat on the event staff in some capacity, if not just even a gopher, because I know where things are and how things work. So, but I'll see how that develops over the next year.
Right on. Well, and I think that for our listeners, we've talked a lot about Chequamegon and kind of the legacy it has in the Upper Midwest, and it's kind of the race you need to go to. And we failed to do that for so long that I moved away to the state of Florida. Spencer moved to Boston. And Little Guy lived right there in Minneapolis. So really, you should be most mad at Little Guy, Matt here, for not coming because he's been so close. But we went across the country to come.
You should have made it here for sure. How did that training for the hills on the Chequamegon work out in Florida for you? I think that'd be a difficult challenge.
Well, that's a really good question, and that was the fear, because we had our competition on who was going to win, and no one really picked me to win, and I destroyed these guys. And I have to admit that I think that the hills of Chequamegon mirror some of the overpasses down here quite well. But I got to admit, I was totally underestimating the hills on the actual Berkey Trail that you have seemed to find and utilize. That those are those are pretty gnarly, especially the last 5 to 6 miles of the trail, and then obviously Fire Tower Hill. But so thousands of people have come to this event over the years. It's one of the largest mountain bike races in North America, I think is fair to say. Who's your favorite competitor?
We are one of the big ones. Yeah, we gave up claiming that we were the largest once we started setting our limit on the event. It wasn't. We like to think of ourselves not so much in quantity, but as in quality. So we like to think we're one of the best events in the country.
Well, and without a doubt, we totally agree with you on that. I mean, we haven't had one bad thing to ever say, except that it was really, really muddy.
I liked that.
I kind of enjoyed that too.
So
now, little guy had a couple of flat tires, so he probably wants a little bit more neutral support out there for his bike, because he claims that's what held him up so much.
Well, you go back in the history of the sport, and it was always, if not an established rule once events started to get sanctioned, but just kind of a ethical rule, is people were always responsible for their own repairs. You could carry your own parts and pieces and tools. You could call on the aid of strangers who might help you, and a lot of people stop and help people along the way. But we've never provided technical support in the event. And I've had a couple of people mention that they thought we should have tech support at aid stations. And I go back to the original, back in the old day ethic, that you carry your own darn chain tool in your pump and your tire, and you get yourself going, because if you're out riding by yourself, you have to do that. So
if you would have seen little guy's bike, if you would have seen his bike, it would have been straight out of the first year of the event itself. So you would have been quite proud that he had to take care of all of his own mechanical problems.
Actually, one of my buddies who came from Atlanta, who was one of our original founders, Mike Gerke, rode the event for 25 years. He came back because it was, the Fat Man's Farewell Tour. And he rode his original Schwinn High Sierra that he rode in 1983. And I can't imagine that wasn't a tough assignment in those conditions.
Was he the guy with
in the 40?
Was he the camo bike? Is it all painted camo now? I think painted I saw
camo,
that.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. I talked to him on one of my many my multiple flat tires, where I was probably about last on course, and I was picking my way through and seeing everybody for like the second time. So you're starting to get kind of really friendly, have a little more time to chat now that you've seen everybody a couple times. He seemed like a really nice guy.
The further back you are.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So I was alluding to it a little bit earlier, but I got to know, after all these years, thousands of people coming through, from the winners, kind of that top tier professional cyclist, male, female, is there one that really sticks out to you that you're like, okay, the event made it when this person showed up, from like at a national competition standpoint?
That's a pretty easy answer. And anybody you'd ask about the event, I'd give the same answer. Greg LeMond came in 1990 and 91 under similar conditions, actually, in 90, which was the first. LeMond was at the peak of his career. And of course, he's a Midwestern guy, based out of the Twin Cities. Kind of got goaded into coming by some of his other buddies, top riders who had come before. Mark Fries from La Crosse, who won a couple of times in the early years, and Jeff Bradley, who was a national champion many times and rode with that 7-Eleven team, who actually has a place up here now. They kind of got Greg to come in 90, and it was almost, it was worse conditions, actually. It rained 7 inches the night of the event, and the night before the event. And the day of the event was a pretty nice day, similar to this year, but it completely transitioned the course. And so he won in 90 and 91. And I mean, this is when he was coming off of Tour de France wins. And you kind of felt like he made it when somebody like LeMond would show up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Definitely.
And then, so LeMond, I'm surprised you chose Greg LeMond over Gene Oberpriller of One-on-One in downtown Minneapolis, because he was always the Chequamegon hero that we saw, because of when he won, he had the Bridgestone XO bike that's still up on his wall.
Oh yeah. If you want me to pick 5 or 10 great champions 36 years. Gino is one of those.
Okay.
He's if not from his stick-to-itiveness of trying to win the event and then finally winning the event, and the bike that he won it on, but just from his I mean, he's a colorful guy. I mean, he's a legend in the Twin Cities, in the Midwestern cycling, and actually nationally. And Gino, what a great guy.
Yeah.
He rode it on a tandem one time with Joe Parkin.
Oh my God.
Parkin Parkin used to race in Europe and has written a couple of great books on cycling. Yeah. And Gino and Joe Parkin rode this tandem. And they got around the corner after Railroad Street on the Highway 77, and they laid it down right in the middle of the rollout. So they could have wiped out the entire rollout in the 40, but somehow people were skilled enough to get around it.
I'm not really surprised that they laid it down in like less than 2 miles onto the course.
Yeah.
But
it's like driving the Queen Mary out there, those tandems. I mean, imagine those in the rollout. And actually, if you read if you look at the Trail Genius videos, the top mixed tandem had a GoPro camera on it. And go on the Trail Genius site and watch that GoPro video of the rollout on the tandem, and it's like white knuckle time. Where those guys are mixing themselves up and people are going left and right around them and changes of speed. I mean, but it's a stupendous firsthand scene of what that rollout looks like from the front of a bike.
Well, two things here. One is I love that there's tandems in the race, because when I'm riding with them and they're blowing past me on the downhills or, vice versa on the climbs, it's great to have that mix. I think that's what I love about the event is it's a mass start. Everyone's together. But then let's get into that mass start a little bit. Little guy and I were, we were rookies. We read our the newspaper that you sent out. We were like, we're not going to ask for a further up gate start. We're gonna mix among the people. And we start going down Main Street, and everyone's like, yeah, it's up there by the school. We start walking by the school, Gary, and there's gate 1, and then gate 2. And then we're looking for gate 7, and we don't even see the number 7 until we get around the corner at the school, and the entire parking lot is full. That was quite the experience to see that many people on the rollout, and I actually kind of enjoyed starting way in the back a little bit. You got to see all different types of bikes, different types of characters in the back. There's people back there that want to be the last one through town. It was a lot of fun.
Well, and you were back there with Lee Berget and his POS crew. That Lee was the one that rode it on the recumbent tricycle.
Yeah,
we saw
that. Was really impressive. That was really impressive.
Yeah, I wrote. There's going to be a story in the post race Fat Tracks, which I'm trying to get printed here pretty soon. I'm closing in on it. But yeah, that was a great story. Lee completing the 40 with the help of his teammates.
Yeah, I saw them a few times out on trail with kind of a line of them all helping him get through some of the more, especially the muddy sections. I mean, it was a tough day for anybody, but much less on the tandem. And it was great to see that whole team working together for one cause.
That was the goal: get Lee to the finish line, and Lee got there on his own power and through the help and encouragement of his POS teammates.
Yeah, that was great.
How was so we had heard stories for years, right? Because we've been involved with cycling out of the Twin Cities, kind of where we started. I mean, sadly, 20 years now, probably. Like we're getting near that level. I guess we had always heard about stories of people getting up at like 2 a.m. to set up bikes the night before.
Oh, sure.
Like, is that still the case, or now it's with the gate assignment? It's not as much of like the race to the finish line to be in that front row.
So one of the almost immediate positive results of Lifetime's acquisition of the Chequamegon, after myself and my buddies had started and owned it for so many years, was they had dialed in that gate system at Leadville, which has about 1,800 people in the rollout at the start. So it's a similar rollout to Chequamegon, although we're a little bit bigger than that. And so we instituted that 7-gate system, 6 of which you have to qualify for. And that pretty much, people still get there pretty early. We don't let them get on the street until my start line chief, Billy Ryan, says they can get on the street, which is usually about 6 o'clock. But yeah, people used to go up and just camp out on the school lawn, and because we had gate 1 and then we had everybody else. And it was tough enough just selecting the people for gate 1. But everybody else, if they wanted to be up in front, they had to line up pretty early. So we instituted that right after 2012 was when Lifetime acquired the event. And I think, I don't know if we did it in 2012, but we certainly did it in 2013. We started that gate system, and it made for a safer, fairer, and more sane rollout. It's still got a little bit of the running of the bulls with it, but at least you kind of stack people up in the approximate order they should be stacked up in. So yeah, no, that was a great improvement in the event. So
do you think that if with a better gate stage, I'm going to be able to improve on my amazing 3 hours and 47-minute time next year? Do you think that I should be in gate 2 with a quality time like that this year?
Well, every year's different, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe you get the flat or get, run off into some place. And so, yeah, you'd certainly pick up some time just by virtue of having a better gate, because it's a gun time. We don't do a chip time at the start. And I could go into reasons why it's good to do that or not do it. And there's a variety of thoughts on that. But, then again, when you're starting from gate 7, what difference does it make if it's a gun or a chip time? You can look at your watch and see what.
Yeah. Well,
and true. When it's in gates, it's not rocket science, but there is some consistency to it. And that's one of the things I've been talking to Peter Spencer about, who's going to be the new director, is how do you handle those gate assignments? I mean, most of them, for the most part, if you've got a time, you're automatically assigned a gate. But then you really just need to sit down and look at, what people send you as far as why they want to be in a better gate, and you make some value judgments. And I guess that's part of the skill of being a director that's pretty hands-on, rather than saying, here's your gate, this is what you get, no changes. We're reasonable folks. We always listen to what people would like to do.
One of the things that stuck out to me, Gary, and I don't know who's responsible for this. I like to think that it was Uncle Ed, because he's brilliant, and I know he's listening to this right now. But when I went through the registration tent, normally when you go through a registration tent, you get a bag, and then the bag is already stuffed with all the things that are needed. Like, you get your one thing of goo. And being a former race promoter myself, where an amazing 200 people showed up. So, I've got a huge track record of success compared to 3,500 that come to your event or whatever. But one of the things, I hated stuffing those bags, but I loved that you guys came up with the very relative and simple solution of having the riders do it themselves. So here's your number, here's your bag, go pick out your goo, go pick out your, whatever, like your shirt size as you moved through the assembly line. So whoever came up with that was awesome. That's just another example of Chequamegon being a step above every other event I've been to.
I tell you, and all that credit goes to I call them the bib pickup girls. It was the 4 ladies that handled my athlete services registration and bib pickup for the short and fat and the 40. 2 years ago, they said, we really think we shouldn't stuff the bags. And I had a history of stuffing bags for 33 years.
Yeah.
And I think part of my success as an event director, and part of the reason that I retain staff, is I actually listen to the people that are doing the job. I mean, we all enjoyed getting together for the collating party because we collated the bags, we put them in a trailer, and then we had a big pizza party. So we found other reasons to eat pizzas and drink beer. So we stopped stuffing the bags, and we kind of called it the trick or treat gauntlet, where you grabbed your bag and you walked through and you tossed stuff in your bag and you went out. And it was much easier to handle the stuff. I think everything flowed really well. And that was because of these 4 gals that said, we really think we shouldn't stuff the bag. And I said, okay, let's go for it. Let's try that. We set it up. It was a great success, and hopefully we'll continue doing it that way.
Oh, I loved it. It was like, wow, I've never seen someone rethink an entire, that was standard bike race promotion, and I hated every moment of it for my small races. And then I go to the biggest event I've ever been in, and it was like, wow, solution's been found, and it was right there all along.
Yep. Yeah, and we didn't see it until somebody said, it'll work better if we do this. And again, another part of the success of this event and why people like it, the staff has been pretty long term. I mean, I usually use the number 35, 36 key people that are chiefs or high level in as many departments. And together they have over 825 years of experience. So every year we try to, again, not try to make it bigger, but what can we do to make it better? And it might be better for the participants. It might be better for the community. It might be better for the volunteers. It might be better for the staff. What is it we can do? And that's the fun part of managing such a great team is that, hey, here's, we come out of the event and we say, hey, here's the thing we can do next year that'll make it better. And that happens. We do critiques. We write things down, and while it's fresh in your mind, write down what you want to do different next year to make it better.
Oh, and it was a lot of fun. And I guess that one of the things that my takeaway is that my parents, I guess they finally sold it. We kind of closed out a cabin in style over Chequamegon race weekend. And I have to admit, I was really, since I moved away, they got this cabin and I never got to go up there and ride mountain bikes because you have the Berkey trail, right? But what the highlight to me is the entire Cabda trails that are up there. Camba. Yeah, my bad.
Chequamegon Area Mountain Bike Association.
And it's amazing. The trails that are up there.
Coincidentally, the Chequamegon Fat Tire Festival gave Camba when they started, and I was on the initial board of directors. I walked into the first meeting we were going to have with Camba, and I wrote them a check for $1,000 and said, here, let's go raise some money and get this organization going. I wasn't the reason why the organization got going, but a lot of things start and, people put, $50 in here and $20 in here. And I thought, well, I've got this financial resource in the Chequamegon event. I knew people were coming up here because they always stopped in my office and asked where to go riding. And there were 2 things out in the woods that you could refer to. There was a set of broken down outhouses up on Randy Stack Road that sat there for many years. And you'd said, well, when you got to the broken down outhouses, this is where you are. And then there was another place, there was a yellow stop sign. And those were the only 2 landmarkers out there. And of course, Camba made it user friendly. We put our heads together and came up with this great system. And so Camba's 10 years younger. So Chequamegon's going into their 37th. Camba is 27 years old going into next year. So they've had a great track record of raising money, using this great community support that we have, and going out and building this trail network that's just crazy good. Just super good.
Yeah, we did 2 days of riding up there. Little guy, what was your takeaway on kind of the whole setup? I know I've been doing a lot of the blabbering like normal, but I guess that you definitely got to have something for Gary, but then also just kind of your overall takeaway on the event. And I mean, to me, it's beyond just the Chequamegon mountain bike race, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
There's amazing mountain bike trails up there, and the pie store. I mean, I don't know. I just think that there's so much cool.
The pie store is nice. There was a lot of good. I mean, I'd never been up there to ride, which is a total shame. I'll definitely be back because we did a couple trails the day before, day after. I had a lot of fun. I definitely want to go back try it with a better start. I'm glad I started in the back the first time because it was kind of a good introduction to every bit of the race. But I definitely want to go back and prove a point, beat your time if nothing else, Jim.
There you go.
That may have to happen.
Every year is different.
Yeah. But I thought it was great. It was a ton of fun. I was definitely like Tim said, it was after doing it, I was like, I can't believe it took me this many years to make it up here and do this race. People have been talking about it forever, and it just had never happened for some reason. So
as a destination, certainly, everybody always looked to Chequamegon weekend and that impact, and that's pretty easy. I mean, we don't have any hard, fast data, but you figure X number of people come up and they spend Y number of dollars, and the bank accounts look good after everybody leaves. But the real economic development is that now, and this has changed over the years, because it used to be you'd come up and road bike in the summer, and then when you started mountain biking, you mountain bike from after the thaw came out of the ground in the spring until the gun deer season, and snow hit. Well, then all of a sudden, with the development of fat bikes, the only time you don't ride your bike up here, or shouldn't, is during the spring breakup, and there's some rules and regulations with the land managers about staying off the trails when they're soft. It's only common sense. And during the gun deer season, although people go out and ride at night during the gun deer season, because you can ride your fat bike, you can ride your gravel bike, you can ride your mountain bike, you can ride your road bike.
Yeah.
You can ride anything. So all of a sudden, cycling up here in this area, because of the infrastructure we've built, because of the community support, because of the good marketing we've done, because of the good results we've had with our events, and there are many, people come up here year round. I mean, come up here and ride the fat bike trails in the winter. You'll be stunned.
Fat bikes. My Uncle Ed keeps trying to get us up there on the fat bikes, and maybe that's going to have to happen. I think I'd probably do it after seeing what the whole setup is. Now, we always just have a long running joke about fat bikes revolutionizing cycling, and it when I look at them, I'm nothing but impressed when I see someone on a fat bike, especially at Chequamegon this year doing the race on a fat bike. I was like, you've added 5 pounds, and I'm already carrying 5 extra pounds of mud.
But imagine, so you got your mud, you got your rocks, you got your roots, you got your bumpy roads. Now freeze that all up solid and groom it smooth like a ski trail, and take your bike out there. Yeah. And of course, I mean, you could skip the 25 below in January. People dress for that, and you can always keep your core warm, but get out on a freshly groomed, firm trail. And it's kind of like you're on a slot car track, it's just like cool curves, up and downs, and
sounds good.
It takes all the jarring out of the mountain biking. Plus, you got those big cushy fat bike tires to soak up some of the bumps. People love it.
All right, well,
it's magical in the woods.
You sold me. I guess I'll have to do it on the fat bike. I'm a pretty easy convinced. So the last question I have on here may seem a little unique or whatnot, but one of the things with Chequamegon that always there was like this long quest for single speed overall winner. And we have big fan, we love single speed bikes. It's kind of how we got our start. And then it finally happened with Lalonde taking the win. When Lalonde won on a single speed, now obviously we weren't there. Were you surprised that it finally happened, or did you think that time was finally coming?
Well, and he actually was a footnote in my head when you asked me about like champions, and out of the top 5, certainly Jesse Lalonde's 2007 win on a single speed in our 25th anniversary is a stunning story.
Okay.
Here's what's even more stunning about that story. Jesse, I mean, he was going to win that race. In the top 7 that year that came into the stadium at a similar time, there was regular mountain bikes, 26 inchers, 29 inchers. Of course, Jesse on a single speed. There was a cross bike, and there was a mixed tandem. So that kind of spoke to the nature of the race course, that you kind of, you run what you brung, kind of.
Exactly.
And of course, Jesse had to be pretty damn crafty to win the 40, because in the place he could have lost the 40 is on the rollout, because imagine he's like the road runner out there. He is totally spun out.
Yeah.
just trying to stay up. And I believe, as the story went, he had to make up, quite a few places after they hit Rosie's Field. But you didn't really think about a single speed winning the event because you're not really out there seeing how it all develops. Unless you're the guy in the lead ATV, you just kind of, or unless you've done some good interviews after the event. But boy, when Jesse came into the stadium, it was like, you could hear the collective jaws drop. That he and it wasn't a slouch field. Tilburg field. He beat a really tough field on a single speed. That's crazy amazing. Like where else has that happened?
And I got to admit, knowing that he won, when the original plan was for me to bring my bike set up as a single speed to Chequamegon just to beat, Spencer and little guy here, that I was emailing with Jesse's brother, Marco, who's also done the race several times, to see what his gearing was. And when he told me the gearing, I was completely blown away by how steep of a gear that was. And he was all talking about, well, you got to stick with people in the rollout. And then you got to have enough because you're going to be running up some of those hills anyway. And I was like, all right, well, single speed's a great idea. I'm bringing a geared bike.
Yep.
But
yeah, it's kind of, the course is the great equalizer. We could have had it one on a cross bike this year. I guess Bjorn Seelander was well off the front at the rollout of the 40, and he's got some European cross experience, but then he ended up flattening out someplace. So,
yeah, that's what we had. What we heard, but what, it will happen, I'm sure, but definitely won't be one of the three of us. And I think that we'll definitely probably be back with a requesting that start gate, because I have to defend the title now. And one thing I picked up on by a lot of the folks I talked to when we were up there was the amount of repeat racers that come through, and now I can totally see why. That they're almost like a pilgrimage back to Chequamegon every year. So it was
quite a few.
It was a great event.
Quite a few.
But
it's like old home week, Another place that happens is over at my buddy Steve Brown's race. That's this weekend, the Iceman.
Oh yeah.
That's the end of the season race for everybody, and totally different format. Iceman is wave starts by class from 9:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon, and the last wave to go off is the pro man.
So we had friends tell us about the Iceman Cometh, that we're kind of, when we were saying that we're going to the biggest event in the Midwest, a couple of our Michigan listeners made sure to let us know about the Iceman, and we just we're like, yeah, that's cool, but it's not Chequamegon.
Iceman, and here's how that happened. Iceman had a similar limit as we do, and I've known and consulted with Steve Brown for years and been over there a few times. He switched to a different online registration provider, and for some reason they forgot to set the upper limit when the thing would turn off. Turning off at his limit, he ended up taking like 4,000 events.
Oh my gosh.
And he told me, he said, "Oh, what the hell? Let's take them and let's just make it work." And that was a huge step for him to say, "Well, we'll take those all and then we'll figure out how we're going to make it work." And I don't know what his numbers are now, but they're still way up there. Yeah, he can have that largest. We had no desire to do that anymore, but that's how that happened. It was actually a mistake in his registration platform.
Oh, nice. I like that style, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Overall, Gary, we just wanted to say thank you for putting on the years. I wish that putting on the event over the years. I wish we would have been there a long time ago. But in your last time at the helm, you did not disappoint. You put out one heck of a party, and we're definitely become fans for the eternity of the Chequamegon Fat Tire Festival. So I appreciate it, and I know
sure.
Spencer does as well. And little guy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm glad I got hooked up with you, and in spite of what your Uncle Ed said, he loves you guys. So do I. You're great guys. And appreciate the coverage, and Ed and I become just great friends.
Well, we look forward to it, and we'll see you next year when you're a little bit less busy at the start line, we hope. But we'll do our best not to send you any emails about our, prescribed start gate or any other type of general question that I'm sure you no longer want to answer.
Well, my work email's going away, so they won't. But here's the thing, and this will drive the new director nuts, Peter. You can always put a line in there. Well, Gary said.
Oh, yeah.
Because we hate it when people say, well, Peter said. Well, you could say, well, I was talking to Gary, and he said I should be in a better gate.
Oh, I love that. That might be on the T-shirt next year. Well, Gary said, and then there you go.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you guys came. I've enjoyed your podcast.
Well, thank you, Gary. And I got to admit, I am already checking my mailbox for the next issue of Fat Treks because no other race have I ever participated in. I've gotten a newspaper telling me everything I need to know about it. When I got that, it was like the greatest day. I called Spencer and Matt right away. I was like, did you guys get the newspaper? Yeah. Like, we're doing an event with a newspaper. This is amazing.
Great.
Well, so here's one part in the transition, since you mentioned that. This is the last issue of Fat Treks.
Oh, no.
Wow.
All right.
They'll go to more electronic, e-news kind of stuff, but I'm an old school guy. I produced in there. I've got an article about the first issues of Fat Treks. I produced that on a manual typewriter, for Pete's sake.
Yes.
Love
That's
it.
great.
That's how far back we go.
Yeah.
Well,
I love the analog copy. It's so much nicer to hold it in your hands than read it online. But then you email the new guy and let him know. I will.
Well, Gary said that if I email you, it's going to happen.
I'll get a newsprint copy if I email you.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate it. And we'll hope to talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.